the Raiders have a decision. They're on the coaching carousel right now, the silver and black attack. Antonio Pierce will be coaching against the Denver football team this weekend, which may, that's a weasel word, may be his final game as interim coach of the Raiders. Raiders have played pretty good defense with Antonio Pierce, but he's not guaranteed to be the permanent head coach in Lost Wages, Nevada. So, Davante Adams has chimed in on this. He's gotten up on the tree stump and given a decree. You could say this is a whistle-stop tour situation. So if you haven't been following it, maybe not. So Davante Adams using his bully pulpit, his platform, to advocate for Antonio Pierce to be hired as the permanent head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. And he added that most of the locker room feels the same way. That's a quote. He said most of the locker room feels the same way. Now, we are told that Mark Davis, the guy that likes P.F. Chang's and has the funny haircut, Mark Davis has not tipped his hand. And so nobody knows for sure what's going on. People love Antonio Pierce. They're campaigning for Antonio Pierce like Davante Adams, but other people are saying, well, get a bigger name. You're the Raiders. You're in Vegas. You're a headline show in Vegas. You got to have a headliner. Go get a headliner. Jim Harbaugh's name has been prominently mentioned with the Raiders and the Chargers. So let us discuss the question for the assembled crowd, just for you. How much weight does Davante Adams' endorsement of Antonio Pierce as the Raiders coach carry? How much weight does that carry? So I've got Microscope, Tabernacle, and Kirkland Brand. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make some bullshoy, is what we're going to make. We're going to make some bullshoy. Compliments of J Scoop. So, number one. Had to make, I was saying, work there. Been away for a while. So we believe Antonio Pierce is the favorite. If you were to handicap it, we have Antonio Pierce as the favorite, but not by a wide margin. Not by a wide margin to be the coach in Vegas. And we hope he gets the gig for personal reasons. We happen to know we have a mutual friend. I know a couple people that have dealt with Antonio Pierce over the years. I'd love to see him get the head coaching job with the Raiders, but he's the favorite not because of Davante Adams campaigning. See, that's a misnomer. Adams getting on the soapbox and advocating for Antonio Pierce to get the gig doesn't really factor in. It does not. Now, if he had said, I don't want this guy to be the coach, that would have had more meaning because no one ever does that. Have you ever heard an interim coach where people say, I think that guy's a douche canoe. I don't want that guy. No, it's always we love the interim coach. The interim coach loves us. We want him to be the coach and all that. So there's a lot of moving parts. But when you go to the MALLER microscope, and you analyze things, Antonio Pierce has several key factors in his favor. What are they? Glad you asked. All right, so some of those factors. Mark Davis is still paying John Gruden and Josh McDummy. McDaniels just got let go a few weeks back, a couple months ago now, and John Gruden's got a pending lawsuit against the NFL and the Raiders. And so Pierce is like a Dollar Tree hire compared to a Jim Harbaugh, the big name, right? And so side by side, you'll save a couple of shekels. Plus, last we checked, Antonio Pierce is the next great interim coach after the Raiders botched Rich Bisaccia, who everyone wanted back then to be the coach, and the Raiders said, no, Mark Davis is like, we got to go somewhere else, got to hire somebody else. And so they passed up Rich Bisaccia, and they hired McDaniels, who stinks, and so then they want to go back. They have another interim coach, and the Raiders' defense has played very well. They've been a top 5 defense, and they've really cranked it up a couple of notches since Antonio Pierce took over. They're a top 5 defense in the NFL. Now, page 2. Headline from Philadelphia. Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown has spoken. I know. Come on. A little turned on by that, right? I mean, great. Wonderful. No? So Antonio, I got my diva wide receivers mixed up. There's a Freudian slip. A.J. Brown. There we go. Stay in your lane. So A.J. Brown explained why he did not speak to the Eagles media following their latest gag against the Arizona football team. And he said it was essentially calculated. Paraphrasing. He said it was calculated. All right. Brown explained that he did it because he said that he gets, quote, classified as a monster if he voiced his frustration and said what he was really thinking. All right, so that's what he claimed. Now, listen, Brown, he's very good, A.J. Brown, at what he does, but he's also been described as locker room poison. Locker room poison from A.J. Brown. And now, here's the question. All right, so A.J. Brown claiming he would be called a monster if he actually said his frustration publicly. Your thoughts on that? So I give this one in general some side eye. I do give it a bit of side eye because athletes lie all A.J. Brown had to do was go out and say some cliches. Now I like the fact that he's so honest. He didn't want to lie to the media. But how hard is it? Like, I mean, it's not that difficult, right? You say, well, we got to play better. Got to bring it. Got to play better. Bring our A game. Didn't show up. Got to go back to the locker room. Got to work harder. Go back to the practice field, watch more tape, and all that crap. Just filler, word spam. He chose not to do that, and that became a bigger story. The fact that he chose not to do that became a bigger story, and things have completely gone unglued. And so I see the A.J. Brown quote about, if I had said what I want to say, I'm a monster. And I say, this guy's praying at the tabernacle of victimhood. Is what he's doing, right? He says, I'm a victim. He's floating down woe is me river on an inner tube. Is what he's doing. And Philadelphia is the epicenter of the drama. They are the epicenter of the drama in the NFL. It's a hot mess. They got a good record. They're a playoff team. The defense has imploded. The offense hasn't been as good as advertised. Jalen Hurts is a turnover machine. There's a whole bunch of problems. There's popcorn problems. They are a popping. Like popcorn kernels all over the place. All right, final point. Headline from Jersey. Why? Well, Zach Wilson, it has been announced, will not be playing quarterback when the New York Jets travel to Foxborough to take on Bill Belichick, Bailey Zappi, and the Patriots. Now, that game, a couple of teams going nowhere. The story there is Bill Belichick. Is that his final moment as coach of the New England Patriots. Now, Robert Saleh announced that Zach Wilson will not be able to play because he didn't clear the concussion protocol. So he will not be able to play. He's not going to be able to go in time to start that game. Now, Trevor Siemian will start his third straight game, and he stinks. He sucks. And you got Aaron Rodgers returning next season, allegedly, at least to the Pat McAfee show. Whether he plays or not with the Jets, who knows? And so Wilson is in the crosshairs. Oh, the drama. Oh, it's a Shakespearean drama. He's in the crosshairs. Now, what is the long-term forecast for Zach Wilson in terms of his future with the Jets? So if you look at the long-term forecast, I actually happen to use Roberto's old Mexican Doppler radar 2000. Roberto left it here, so I was able to use that. And the Doppler radar, the Mexican Doppler radar from Roberto, shows that the forecast calls for for cloudy skies, a chance of hail the size of Kirkland brand milk chocolate almonds. Those almonds covered in milk chocolate. That's how big the hail is going to be. So we know Wilson's been an abject failure. Rodgers is going to be 40 years old by next NFL season. I think he just had a birthday. And so he's fragile. The Jets, they need someone with a pulse, someone that doesn't need diapers because they're not potty trained like Zach Wilson, the Zach attack. Stinko. So I think the scouting report's pretty accurate on Zach Wilson. 3 words. Kid can't play. That's the 3 word. Kid can't play. And so Wilson he'll be somewhere else. He'll go to another team as a reclamation project, and everyone will blame the Jets, and it's not his fault. It's the Jets' fault and all that. We'll see where that leads.